Okay, y'all. Happy Friday. If my energy doesn't seem 110%, it's because I had 2 immunizations yesterday, the COVID and the flu, and they basically made me feel like I have the flu. So my energy may be up and down. I apologize in advance, but I thank you for being here. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. My name is Jen, and I just try to promote positivity, share my life lessons, maybe get you to have a little bit of a chuckle and a better day, okay? Because wrinkles, come from frowning. So I would rather that you smile. Anyway, happy Friday, beautiful people. Let's get into the story time. This is story time about how I possibly ended up driving a stolen vehicle. Fun fact about me, I'm a scaredy cat. I don't like to break the law. I don't like to fool with the people in the uniforms. I like to stay out the way and out of trouble. So, let me just preface by saying that. So, let's go back to maybe my late 20s. I believe my oldest son, who is now 18, he was about 2 at the time. I was dating this guy named D, okay? D also had a son that was 2 years old. So D and I would date. We would go to the movies. We would go out to eat. Like simple, casual stuff. Nothing that was ever too much. Like we would take the kids, like on a Friday, we'd go to like Applebee's, get the 2 for $20. We would do the little simple stuff. We'd take kids to the jump and play, this and the other. But we never were, like we went out with our kids a couple of times as like a group thing. But it wasn't like, I would go over his house with my son, or he would come to my house with his son, or whatever. He would come pick me up. At the time, I did not have a vehicle. He had this tricked out black Cadillac Escalade, okay? Black on black. We talking about rims. Now, y'all got to remember, this is 2008, 2009. Everybody had the TVs in their car. Y'all remember when people used to have the TVs, the little monitors in their car? He had like 2 or 3 of them. He had them in the headrest. It was that type of vehicle, right? I should have knew then. But anyway, it was my understanding that he worked for this car repair and collision company, which I actually knew the family that owned that business, but I never quite questioned that. Remember that, because that's going to come up later. And then he was like a rapper and was trying to produce and do beats and do music or whatever on the side. I live in Atlanta, so that's not too far from a lot of people's story. Like I said, I was in my late 20s. I'm just out having a good time. This dude is picking me up. He's buying me things. He's buying things for my son. At the time, well, really, the whole time my son's been on this earth, his father has never been involved. Now, I was not looking for another father figure for my son. I was just having a good time and taking advantage of what was being presented to me. I never asked for anything. This is what was given. So, back to this Cadillac Escalade. So, one Saturday, homeboy, his name is, we're going to call him D. D is like, hey, I need to go to the studio, but I really want to kick it with you today. How about you take my truck and drop me off at the studio and come back and get me later? You can go chill with your people. I'm going to give you some money to gas up my truck, get it detailed. I need you to run to the mall, get me a pair of Air Force Ones, and get you whatever you want. Okay? So, he pulls out this, nice little amount of money. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, I drop him off at the studio. And then I go get my homegirl. We're going to call her Jada. Jada also had a daughter that was, I think she was like a year older than my son. So, my son is 2, her daughter's 3. So I'm like, girl, let's go to the mall. Let's go out to eat. I got my dude's truck. We finna ride. Like, because the truck had like all the TVs, rims, like the windows were in it. It had like the sound system, like everything you could think of, it had. This truck was big enough to live in. It was humongous, okay? Big old wheels, big old tires, rims, all that, right? You saw this thing, you could hear it beating down the block. Like, I thought I was doing that, okay? So I go get my girl and her daughter. I got my son with me. His son, he said his son was with his mother, was with the grandmother. So anyway, I have my son and I got my girl Jada and her daughter. So we ride, we go get something to eat, we go to the mall, we take his car to get detailed, shine up the rims, so and so, whatever. It was so funny, y'all, because he even, me taking the cart in to get detailed, he even had this special spray that he wanted them to spray on his rims to shine them up a certain way. He's real particular about that. I always kept the truck clean, right? This thing never saw dirt. Even when it was clean, he was like, my truck dirty, I gotta get it washed. Like, he was obsessed with this truck. So we riding, I go to the mall, I buy him the Air Force Ones, and I get me and my son something with the money that he gave me. Now, my homegirl had her own money. She was just down the ride, and I treated her to lunch that day. So anyway, I drop her back off, and he's calling like, hey, you gonna come get me? I end up dropping my son off with my brother. He was spending the night with his uncle for the weekend. And then me and dude was supposed to kick it that night, okay? So I ride back by the studio, the stew, as they like to call it, which is very on brand for Atlanta. Dudes always, especially back then, was always on some, you need to listen to my mixtape type. You know, they would have a regular job, or they would be a dope boy, and they would, you know, be in the studio, all right? It was my understanding that he had a regular 9 to 5, and then he was in the studio on the side, like chasing his dream, right? Very on brand for Atlanta. If you know, you know. So I go pick up D, and we kick it, and we hang out, and I had packed the bag because I wasn't going back home. At the time, I was living with my parents, and I did not have a vehicle. My vehicle had gotten totaled, and I was trying to get my life together, but I was just happy to be out of the house. I was happy to, you know, be kid free for a night and just go kick it being an adult, right? So my son is with my brother for the rest of the weekend. This Saturday night, me and my dude, we go kick it for the whole weekend, okay? I don't come back till Sunday. Like I said, we was hanging out. I believe he got us a room or whatever, and we went to the club. Actually, it wasn't too much really going on. We went to the club that night. You know, I had me a little fit. He had him a little fit. We went to the club, hung out, or a sports bar or something. Came back, went to sleep, and by the time we woke up, it was time for me to go back and get my son. So we did, and he drops me off. Okay, so we had a good weekend. Like I said, I had bought me a couple of things. You know what I'm saying? I had picked up the Air Force Ones he asked me to pick up. I was flossing in this little ride, you know what I'm saying, with my homegirl. I thought it was that girl. You could not tell me nothing. Fast forward about a week and a half. I am at work. I am at my salon. If y'all don't know, I am a licensed cosmetologist, and I focus on cutting. So I'm at my salon. So my phone rings. I go in the break room. My phone happens to ring. I pick it up, and it's him. And D is freaking out. He's like, babe, I'm going to wire you some money. Because back then, we didn't have Cash App. This is a minute ago. Like I said, it's probably 2008, 2009. Back then, you didn't have Cash App. He said, I'm going to wire you some money, and I need you to use that to come get me. And I was like, how am I going to come get you? I don't have a car. And I was like, furthermore, where's your truck? And he was like, babe, I came to the studio in Marietta, and somebody took my truck. When I came out, my truck was gone. He said, I'm in kind of a rough area, and somebody took my truck. Somebody got me for my truck. So he is freaking out. I'm like, oh my God. Wow. You know. So I'm like, he's like, can you get somebody to bring you out here? I'm going to wire you some money, and you come out here and help me out. Now, it's like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. It's during the week. I have a whole toddler. I stay with my mom and daddy. I'm not finna come an hour away, because where I was at, Marietta was about an hour away. And it's nighttime. It's close to closing for my shop. Back then, my shop used to close at 9 o'clock. So I'm not finna go nowhere at 9 o'clock. I have to go home to my son. Like, I have a whole responsibility. And keep in mind, me and D are kicking it, but he's not really my man. We're kicking it, and we're getting to know each other, and we're like, you know, exclusive, so to speak. But we're not locked in like that, where I'm finna drop everything to come help you, right? Plus, my people not finna be looking at me crazy because I done dipped somewhere at 9 o'clock, and I'm supposed to come home and see about my child. So he is freaking out, and I'm like, babe, I can't come to you right now. I have to go home and see about my son. I said, but I will see if I can get a ride out there when I get home. So I'm calling a couple of my people, and my homegirl Jada that had previously gotten, she the week before, and we went to the mall or whatever, she was at work. I think my other homegirl was out of town. I wasn't about to call my brother, because my brother ain't finna help no random dude do anything. Like, no. Like, especially, he didn't really know dude like that, and it was just weird. So I was like, I called him back, and I was like, there's nothing I can do for you. I was like, if you could just get a ride back onto this side of town, maybe we can figure something out when you get back over here. So he's like, man, all right, cool. So he had like a little attitude or whatever, but he understood, like, I'm not finna leave my son to come see what's going on with you. Like, that sucks, but like, if your truck was stolen, call the police, file a report. You know, instead of being on the phone with me trying to figure out other stuff, why are you not calling the cops and whatever? Aha. So a day or two goes by, and I don't hear from D. He's texting me here and there, but he has not called me, right? So one of my clients comes in. Remember I told y'all that he used to work at this car collision and repair place? The client that came in, family owns that car collision and repair place. So I said, hey, so-and-so, we're gonna call him Brad. I said, hey Brad, I'm kicking it with one of your employees. And he's like, who? And I'm like, D. And he's like, who? I'm getting ready to cut his hair, and I kid you not, my client turns all the way around and looks at me like, who? I don't have no employee named D. And I said, yeah, you know D. He's, 6 feet tall. He's brown skinned. He got this, he got that, blah, blah, blah. He drives his truck. My client rolls their eyes so hard. And he's like, oh, that's just somebody that like to hang around the shop. He don't really work there. Y'all, I am floored. Because like I said, this man spoke very intelligently. He never gave me the reason to think that he was in the street. Yeah, he had a tricked out vehicle, but a lot of dudes had tricked out vehicles back then. I never saw him do anything nefarious or illegal. And he treated me very well, with a lot of respect. Never yelled, never got loud, never said nothing crazy. Always wanted to make sure that me and my son were straight. So I'm like, wait a minute. This person doesn't work there? Keep in mind, I know the family that owns the business. He said no. He said, I think I would know all my employees, right? So I'm like, okay. This dude doesn't work there. I have been bamboozled. Then come to find out from said client of mine, Brad, how about homie don't own that truck? How about homie did some scam stuff where he got that truck, he made like the first payment on that truck and got it off of the lot, and then didn't make any more payments. And the reason why he was riding around so much is because he was trying to dodge the repo man. So the day that he had me go and drive to the mall, and he was like, hold my truck for the day, and I'm thinking like, I'm that girl, he was dodging the repo man. So can y'all imagine, had the repo man picked up the truck while we was at the mall, me, my homegirl, and our kids would have been stranded. Not to mention, I don't know how repos really work. I don't know if the police come with you or what. I don't know how long he was on the run with this truck. But basically, after a while, they started to report the truck. I don't know if they reported it as stolen or what, but basically that's what he did. He did the down payment. He did just enough to drive the truck off the lot, and then he never came back. So I don't even know if it was in his name, y'all. I had so many questions. So the client leaves the shop, and as soon as I go on lunch, I'm texting him. I'm like, bruh, I found out this truck ain't even yours. I found out blah, 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 XYZ, blah, blah, blah. He's like, man, I told you my truck got stolen. Somebody got me for my truck, this, that, and the other. And he's still lying, y'all. He's still lying. So the more he lies, the more I get pissed off. The more he keeps talking, the more he's telling more and more lies to cover up the lie he told in the first place. Come to find out, he doesn't work at the car repair and collision center. He is in the street. The truck is not his. The truck has been repoed, not stolen. And I haven't gotten to the very best part of all. Fast forward about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months later. I'm in the Walmart. I have my son, and I think I had rented a car. My family that would keep my son while I worked, they were going out of town, or somebody had a family emergency or something. Anyway, I didn't have anybody keep my son, and I need to be able to get around. So I had rented a car for like a week and a half. Please tell me why I'm getting ready to check out of the Walmart and I see D. I see a woman. I don't see his youngest son, but I see these 2 other older kids. They're maybe 8 and 9, and they look just like him. And the way that he is interacting with this woman and packing the groceries in the cart, I could tell that they are a family. Something tells me, glance at his hand, there's a wedding ring. Baby D was in the store with his whole wife that I knew nothing of. Because here's the thing, we had been kicking it, but I had been by his house, like, we would go by his house and like pick something up, or we would go by his homeboy house and pick something up, but we never like chilled at each other's houses. And I wasn't really thinking about it too tough, because I'm just like, you know, this dude is treating me nice, he was love bombing me, he was doing all these things. So I never once questioned anything, because you're always texting me, you're calling me, you're keeping in contact, you're dropping by my job, bringing me flowers, picking me up from work. He was just being so nice. So I never once questioned anything. Baby, not only was this man 1 foot in the street, didn't own this truck and it got repoed, he didn't have the job that I thought he had a whole wife and a family. So as I'm exiting the checkout, he's at the end of the checkout, they're putting their groceries in, and I'm like maybe an aisle or 2 spaced down. I look at him, he looks at me. He looks like he has seen a complete ghost, y'all. I don't say anything. I don't blow up the spot, because I don't even care no more, because at this point I didn't stop talking to dude anyway. I'm not really fooling with him. You full of lies and foolishness and drama, and you could have got me caught up in some foolishness with you. So I just kind of look at him, I wink, and I go on. I get in the car with my people, we go home, this and the other. And then I saw him again like another year later, after I had gotten my vehicle and got myself straight, moved out, whatever. And it was on a day when I was really looking together. I was very casual, but my nails were freshly done. You know, my eyebrows were arched. Whatever little hairstyle I had just fixed that up. And me and my son, I think we were in Target that day. And I ran into him again. He was by himself. And I just sashayed by. I didn't say anything at all. And he just kind of stood there and looked at me like, dang, I fumbled the ball. But here's the thing, y'all. I could have gotten into so much mess, because I don't even know now. Maybe that truck was in his wife's name. I don't know. I could have been driving a whole nother woman's vehicle. So that's the story of how I almost got caught up driving a stolen vehicle because I was naive and I did not ask questions. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are dating somebody, if things seem too good to be true, listen, pay attention to your intuition. It probably is. Ask the hard questions. And if that person feels uncomfortable because of it, it probably means they're doing something they ain't got no business, and they up to some nefarious stuff. So that is the story of how I almost got caught up driving a stolen vehicle. I'm so glad that nothing happened. Y'all, I have so many crazy dating stories. I have another one on here about how another dude that I was kicking it with, not only was he married, but I had gone to his house because we were going to go hang out later. So he was like, drive to my house and then I'll drive my car and we'll go wherever. Well, when I drove to his house and I came in and we're chilling or whatever, and I'm waiting for him to finish, you know, grabbing his stuff so we can go, the door starts opening and in walks his wife. If you want to go and check out that story time is called he was married. And you can find out what happened and how I got out of that by the skin of my teeth. But anyway, I have a lot more story times. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Let me know down in the comments if y'all have some crazy dating stories. Have you been through anything like that? I'm not afraid to show my vulnerability or expose what I have been through in the hopes that it will help somebody else not make the same mistakes. But anyway, happy Friday, beautiful people. Like I said, I am committed to posting a video every day and putting it up by 6 p.m. I hope you will join me again tomorrow. Who knows what the video might be about. But I thank you for joining me. Thank you for subscribing, liking, commenting. Thank you for everybody that even clicked on this video. I'm a small creator trying to become a bigger creator, and I appreciate you. Peace and blessings.